Hey guys, Foxdrop here with a video on the PBE changes that are currently out there, which will be implemented into patch 5.16 whenever that may be. What we've got on the PBE now, the stuff we're going to take a look at in this video is the Skarner changes and the changes to the new items or the new items that are coming out, along with a little bit of looking at the items that already exist that are getting changed as well. Now the reason why I'm just going to do Skarner in this video and not all of the whole juggernaut changes, because Garen, Mordekaiser, Darius and Skarner all got like thematical changes. Just gonna look at Skarner because that's like the jungle side of things, and if I took a look at everything I'd be here all day. So let us jump right in to the changes. So Skarner. Now Skarner overall hasn't really changed too much, so don't worry about that. If you are a huge Skarner enthusiast, you're still going to be able to play the old skittering bug boy, no problem. But he does have a very interesting change about him as well, which really does influence the dynamics of how you're going to be playing as him and against him. So if we just take a quick look at this video here by Skin Spotlights, I'll link this in the description. You now have these little points on the map, which are very similar to Dominion. As you can see, he's walking over a point now. You stand by it, you capture it, and when you capture it, you get, when you're standing in it, you get the buff, an attack speed buff, move speed buff, and it restores your mana as well. Now, there are 6, I think, of these on the map. I believe that's the case. 4, 6. Yeah, there are 6 of them. 2 of them in your jungle, 2 of them in the enemy jungle, 2 of them in the river. And the whole idea about this now is Skarner has his own minigame, like a Dominion-esque minigame. I suppose that's why they cancelled out the draft mode Dominion queue, because you can just queue up for a normal game and play Skarner and you'll be sorted. But yeah, so it's like you got to capture these points, and this is the whole, when I was talking about the new dynamics with Skarner, Skarner is a champion who wants to be fighting people. He's always been one of the strongest duelists in the game. Like when he's 1v1 fighting someone, it's very hard for you to beat a Skarner. Similar to Shyvana, that's one of her strengths as well. So the introduction to these points means that you're going to want to be fighting all the bloody time. You're going to want to be contesting these points. You're going to want to make those ballsy invades to try and get the points for yourself. And you're going to want to be defending your own points too. So you can capture these points yourself, and then of course the enemy team can capture them back to deactivate them. They give you the buff when you get near them, and I believe they give you a passive buff as well, like the more you have the stronger overall you are. I'm not entirely sure about that, I'm pretty sure that's the case. Anyway, maybe not, who knows, or something like that. Although actually, this, yeah, it's something like that. I'm not entirely sure. You can, like I say, you can read the notes yourself. I have a read of these, but there's one thing I wasn't 100% sure on. The wording of the PBE notes can also be a little bit, yeah, because they're like draft notes basically. But yeah, also they're changing how he works a little bit, and there are just some really fine stuff which you probably won't notice unless you're a big Skarner player. And most important things to note is that his Q no longer stacks up attack speed. You used to just like attack someone, right, fight someone and spam your Q, and this is why he was such a good duelist, is because not only was his Q a lot of sustained damage, but he also, the more he was fighting someone, the stronger he got, right? He got attack speed the more he hit his Q on someone, so he was just like bam 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 beating the crap out of someone. You don't have that anymore. What you have now is once you stun someone with your Q, which is part of your passive, or your old passive, which is now move to your E, but I won't confuse you with that. Basically, whenever you stun someone, very similar to how you would do with the current Skarner, you gain a charge, or the buff that you would be getting if you walked by one of your pillars in the map. Does that make sense? Probably not, but what I mean is, when you walk past those pillars on the map, the things that you're trying to capture, you get a little bit of a buff. You also get that buff when you stun someone with your passive as Skarner. When you're fighting someone, basically, you're going to be getting that buff. Also, when you hit them with your ulti too, that's going to trigger it as well. So, interesting look. I don't really know that, in my opinion, that makes him a little bit weaker, because Skarner, at the end of the day, if you're stacking that attack speed up, you're going to have a lot of attack speed if you're doing like an extended fight. Whereas if you're just getting that buff while you stun someone for 1 second. It doesn't seem like you're going to get as much out of it. But the whole idea of this juggernaut change was to make these tanky people, like, to pigeonhole them really into their tanky archetypes. They described it as, you know, like these low mobility, just huge beef walls, right? Who, if they get in on you, they're going to be a huge problem, but they're not going to have a lot of, you know, it's not going to be easy for them to get in on you, and, you know, that kind of thing. And you can see that here as well by his W no longer has a like base shield amount. It just shields you for a percentage of your max health. So the more health you have, the better you're going to get for a shield. So that incentivizes you to actually buy some health. Your Q is also scaling with a percentage of your total AD. So maybe you're going to want to go for like a bruiser build as well there. Yeah, basically he's the big change about him is the minigame stuff, right? It's the points. And I don't know, for me personally, I don't really like the idea of that, because it makes you have an objective that you have to play around, right? You can't just ignore these points on the map. You have to take them if you want to be playing Skarner to his full effectiveness. And I would rather just, you know, think about what I want to be doing personally, like how the game is going. Do I want to be farming? Do I want to be ganking? Do I want to be invading maybe? Do I want to focus on, you know, jungle control and objectives and that kind of thing? I'm not a huge fan of just having to be like, well, maybe I could be doing this, but I also need to take care of my points. So that's my opinion. It's going to be really interesting to see how Skarner is with this stuff. I'll try to get a gameplay up of him as well, with the new points and things. So we'll see how that goes too. But moving on from that, I want to talk about the new items that are coming through here. So basically, there's being a little bit of a rework of the defensive items and making magic resist a bit more cost efficient. So you're getting more bang for your buck out of your magic resist. Basically, this means that all MR items are getting a small buff. They're also making armor slightly less effective, so they're getting a small nerf as well. And they've changed some things which I'll look at after we've looked at the very new items. But basically, they're kind of squidging the item efficiencies together so that it's armor magic resist a lot closer now into how cost efficient they are. But yeah, so the new items that are coming out, if I scroll down and find them here, here they are. So there's 3 of them: Dead Man's Plate, Sterac's Gauge, and Titanic Hydra. So let's take a look at them, shall we? So with Dead Man's Plate, well, previously this was an item that was on the black market brawlers, but now it is going to be available on Summoner's Rift. What it is, it gives you a bunch of health and armor, and its passive is, while moving, build stacks of momentum, increasing movement speed by up to 60 at 100 stacks. Excuse me. Momentum quickly decays while under the effects of a stun, taunt, fear, silence, blind, blah blah CC. And slowly decays while slowed. So essentially, while you're moving, you get faster, but if you get CC'd, it falls off. Also, basic attacks discharge all of your momentum, dealing 1 physical damage per 2 stacks. So you can get 100 stacks as the max. So if that's 1 physical damage per 2 stacks, then the next basic attack can do up to 50 damage. If 100 stacks are discharged, damage is doubled. Oh, okay, that's a lie. If you're at max stacks, then you can do 100 damage. And the target is slowed for 75%. So basically, it's just an overall tank item, and it allows you to initiate stuff. It allows you to get in on things, because you're running at them, you're gaining momentum, you're gaining speed, and then you kind of just come swinging in like a wrecking ball, and you do that bonus damage if you're on full momentum. I don't quite know how fast the stacks go up. Like, I don't know whether, you know, it takes like a minute to get 100 stacks, or whether it's just really quickly, you know, like how Sion in his ulti just really fast gains that speed. I'm not quite sure how that goes down, but essentially, yeah, it's just for running around. Basically, it's for getting in on things. It's for move speed is always quite a useful utility in general. Getting back to lane, it's going to be useful in that regard. Sort of roaming around if you want to do that too. It's overall going to be, it's quite a nice item. It's not that expensive either, 2.7k. It's not an expensive tank item. Solid stacks, 600 health, 55 armor. Can't go wrong with that, apart from the fact that armor isn't spelt with a U. That always triggers me a little bit, but I understand. It's not an English game. But yeah, you know, it looks kind of interesting. I don't know whether it will completely change the shape of the game or anything like that. The little, like the crushing blow, it's almost like Jarvan's passive, right? When you first get in there, you're gonna do like an extra dunk, you know, it's gonna like right down on someone. So you know, 100 bonus damage though isn't really amazing, but yeah, if you get it early, considering this doesn't like scale with anything, if you get this item early, then it's going to be pretty disgusting, right? Any kind of flat damage or any flat anything, like a Hex Drinker for example, it's very good in the early game because it gives you a 250 health shield flat, which means that the earlier on you are, when there's less damage flying around because people, you know, are at a lower level and they don't have as many items, that 250 health shield is ridiculous. The magic shield, it's ridiculous. But when you get into the late game, 250 health, like preventing 250 magic damage already, is that going to do that much? Probably not. So yeah, percentage is good for late game, flat stuff is good for the early game. Another item coming out here is Sterak's Gauge. This is an interesting one because there's a new mechanic that's being released here called base attack damage. Essentially you're increasing your base attack damage. That's not something we've seen before from an item. So it builds out a longsword and giant's belt, gives you 500 health plus 25% of your base attack damage, and it's unique passive. Upon taking at least 400 to 1800 damage based on your level within 5 seconds, so basically burst damage, you gain primal rage for 8 seconds, pretty much the duration of a fight. Primal rage is you grow in size and strength with 25 increased additional base attack damage again, and a rapidly decaying shield for 30% of your maximum health. So the first thing to say here is base attack damage. Who's this going to work on? Because obviously you're going to want to build this on the champions who have high base attack damage. Now, I seem to remember in the past when I was researching that stat, Skarner actually has the highest base attack damage in the game. I don't know if that's changed, but it definitely was true, so he's probably still up there. And so basically base attack damage is usually found, or high base attack damage is usually found on the tankier people, on the bruisers. It's not found on people like AD carries or people who you generally associate with having high attack damage in games. AD carries, people like Jace, Yasuo, you know, those kind of people. They don't actually have high base attack damage, especially ranged people don't. Melees have more, but ranged definitely don't. So this isn't like a carry item necessarily. It's a bruiser item. And you can kind of see that as well by just the stats itself, and because you get a shield. So if you go in there, if you're just jumping in there and you take a crap ton of damage, you're going to get a shield for 30% of your maximum health. And you just go a little bit Super Saiyan really, because you get increased damage as well. So this is going to be a great item for, like I say, these champions who just want to jump in there. For these guys who want to get straight in onto the fight but don't want to die immediately. It's also good for like the off tanks, people who are not like designated tanks in the team, who are, you know, if you've built like Warrior Enchantment and maybe Triforce and you're playing Vi or something, and you've got your Randuins, that's your 3 items, right? Like Warrior Enchant, Triforce and Randuin. So you're not really tanky at the moment, but then you also chuck in like a Sterak's Gauge or something. You're not that tanky. You're somewhat tanky, but you'll probably still die if worse comes to worse. This just helps you survive a little bit, but at the same time, it also scales with maximum health. So the more health you have, the better this shield is going to serve you. So, annoying. Actually, very annoying item, because if you're tanky, you're going to want to get this. And if you're tanky, you're going to be tanky. Surprise, surprise. And if you're fighting someone who's tanky and then pops a shield for 30% of his maximum health, damn, that's ugly. The next item here is the Titanic Hydra for melee only. Builds out Tiamat and Giant's Belt. Gives you 250 health, not a lot of health, but 50 AD, that's decent. Regen, just Tiamat stats. And then the passive, basic attack still 20, plus 1% of your maximum health as bonus physical damage on hit. So you're just getting some extra on hit damage, pretty much scaling with how tanky you are. Unique passive, Cleave, basic attacks deal 40% plus 2.5% of your maximum health as physical damage in a cone on hit, though your target doesn't take that. So it's like a VI-E, right? Unique active, Crescent. I'm guessing this is going to be a low cooldown active, similar to how Hydra and Tiamat are already. Your next basic attack deals physical damage equal to 20 plus 10% of your maximum health in a larger cone. We're seeing a pattern here. Maximum health scaling. You're going to be wanting by a lot of health with these new items, and this is kind of like, this is a bruiser item. It's not giving you a lot of health by itself, just 250, which, you know, that is not a lot at all. Although that's probably not correct. Because if it builds out a giant spell, that gives you 380 health. I can't imagine why it will give you 250. And looking at the item here, okay, you can't see that, but it's I can see it there. It says plus 400 health, so that's probably more accurate. I think it gives you 400 health rather than 250. I'm not sure where that comes from, but yeah, 400 health. So it's, you know, it's Black Cleaver level health, right? It's nice, it's something, but it's not, you know, it's not huge amounts of health. It's decent though. It's definitely decent. And this is something you'd be getting on, you know, if you're playing Jarvan, for example, right? You go for your Warrior Enchant, you get your Titanic Hydra, and then you go full tank. You'll be tanky as Bullsacks. You will have decent damage, because this gives you 50 damage, mind you. It's more than a BF sword gives you, plus your Warrior Enchantment. So you'll have some damage, and like I say, you'll be tanky. The more tanky items you get, the more damage you're going to be doing with this bad boy as well. You chuck in that bloody Sterix gauge, and you're going to be having crap ton more damage, like a shield as well that helps you, right? So a big theme here with health. It really reminds me of the Atmorg's era, which is what these items would most likely introduce. The overpowered bruisers is what I could imagine with this. I don't know whether that will actually happen or not, but it's what I'm imagining by reading these items. So pretty big jungle changes in that sense as well, seeing as you tend to see the bruisers in the jungle. Now, I don't want to talk about too much else here, because I've already talked for a long time. I don't want to bore you guys, though I'm aware I'm doing that. I just want to quickly take a note about some of the changes of the other items, like the items we've already got in the game. So things like Randuin's, things like Thormail, Warmogs. Randuin's now reduces critical strike damage by 10%, which is quite interesting. They've also made it like a smaller item overall, gives you 100 less health, 10 less armor. It also costs less, but still, it's, you know, it's cheaper, but it doesn't give you as much, which means in the late game, if you're fully built with a Randuin's, you're not going to be as tanky. Cinderhulk now gives you more base health. Not as much health multiplier, so you're not going for the late game with it, you're going more immediate impact. Warmogs now as well, if you have over 3000 health, then once you're out of combat for a little while, you'll restore 3% of your max health per second if you haven't taken damage. Crazy stuff, really, really crazy stuff. With this health meta, that's going to be great to chuck in there as well. Thormail as well now also scales with your bonus armor for the reflected damage. So the tankier you are, the more damage your Thormail gives you. Not a big fan of mechanics in general that let you do more damage based off of how tanky you are. I think there should be trade-offs when you go tanky. The biggest trade-off being obviously you don't have as much damage. So not a huge fan of that change, although we'll see if it makes much difference. You know, considering health is going to be a pretty big one right now, like with all the other items, you're probably not going to be having a lot of armor, so maybe this won't make a big difference. But if you're playing someone who has armor scaling abilities, Rammus, Leona, there are others obviously, Trundle, you know, Thormail and that scaling with the bonus armor, you might feel that might be quite potent actually. But yeah, I've talked way too long about this. The reason why I wanted to make this video is because yesterday I actually recorded a piece with Azo. We talked for a very long time. It's almost an hour. It's more like a podcast and anything about all the changes. We went into loads of details about everything, the implications of it on the meta, all that lovely business. If you want to see a more in-depth, you know, detailed breakdown, I guess you could say, of and two brains going at it as well, not just mine. Probably even half a brain on here, to be honest. But now, if you want to look into a more detailed thing, you should go watch Azo's video I did with him. I'll link to that in the description as well, so you can check that out if you want to do so. I am going to head off now, guys. I've talked for quite a long time. Don't want to bore you too much. I'm going to try and get out a gameplay of the Skarner as well, so keep your eyes peeled for that on the channel if you're interested. But that's the rundown of the changes here for the PBE and how it's going to influence the jungle, I guess. And just in general, you know, what's up. So I hope you enjoyed the video, guys. If you did, feel free to give it a thumbs up. You can subscribe to me. You didn't actually get to see it. There it is. You can subscribe to me for educational content, all that lovely business. You know the drill, guys. Go find me on Twitter. Go find me on Facebook as well. Do it. Do it in the description. Go like me. Go follow me. Whatever you want to do, just make sure you do it. Alright? Can't wait to see you there. Have a good one, guys. Thanks so much for watching. Have a great day. And I'll see you in my next video.